Hi everyone, my name is Christy and welcome to my Trying a New Makeup Product Everyday series. Today I have such an exciting, huge product to try out, and this is from KAB Cosmetics and it's the Contour Palette. So I got this in my September 2021 Boxy Luxe box. So if you have not seen that unboxing yet, of course I'll have that video linked in the description down below. But this palette retails for $60. I think that is so expensive for a contour palette, for any palette really, but the size of this palette is wild. It is ginormous, and I've actually tried out one other product from KAB Cosmetics before, their lip oil, which is fabulous, but also giant. So this is like, I've only seen two of their products in person, but seems like a giant makeup product company, which I am excited about. Look at the size of these pans, like holy moly. So there are 8 shades in here, of course, as you can see. And looks like this half is going to be more like my highlighting shades. This is going to be more of my contouring shades, and a huge mirror, which is great to see. So I am not a huge contour person. Like, I like to use my bronzer in a way that contours my face a bit, but like this palette is intimidating to me. But I'm gonna just have fun with it, play around with the colors, try and find a use for all of the shades. And before I actually get into applying this to my face, I want to start out with some swatches. I think that will help me figure out where I should apply it on my face. So let's start. Ooh. Wow, very creamy formulas. And these are all matte shades. Oh my gosh, that is a very beautiful bright white. I actually love to use a white shade like that to set my eyelids before eyeshadow. This shade would also be great for setting the lids. Oh my gosh, I just love how soft these formulas are. Wow. And I saw that there were 2 versions of this, I think. A light shade and a darker version of the palette. But wow, these swatches have me very impressed. They're extremely pigmented and true to how they look in the pan here. And they have such an amazing soft texture that I think they're going to be really blendable on the skin. So I'm so excited to play with these. So I think the first shade I am going to pick up is the white shade here. I may end up applying some of these to my eyes because these are the types of shades that I end up applying on my eyelids the most often. So I like to take a really light matte shade, like this white is perfect. It's not looking super stark white pigmented on the eyelid, so this is a perfect shade to set any eye primer and prep my lids for other colors. So I'll definitely be able to get use out of this in that way. It is a translucent color, so you can also use it to set anywhere on your face. But I want to try out some of the other highlight shades for that. I do worry that the banana shade is going to be a little bit too bright for my skin tone. I might just have to mix it with one of the other shades. But like, let's see if I were to pick up the banana shade. I don't know, I'm just gonna use my finger. They're just so soft and creamy. But say I wanted to use this to like, yeah, to brighten and highlight, it ends up actually looking a little bit too dark on my skin. But I'm gonna just pick up a little brush here. Like maybe I could take the nude and the banana shade, bit of kickback, and mix them together. I'm like trying to mattify and highlight my forehead. Didn't do too much. I really think nude or vanilla bean would be great for setting the under eyes. So why don't I do one eye with one of the shades and the other eye with the other. So I'm just gonna use my dampened makeup sponge here. First I'm gonna pick up some of the nude. And I always need to set my under eyes with a powder to prevent creasing. And I like to brighten this area. So going in with a highlight shade is what I'd ideally like to do. And that does seem brightening. I like that. I'm gonna go into Vanilla Bean, which just looks a little bit lighter. Picking that up on the other side of my sponge here. Let's see, oh, okay, yes. For my current skin tone, which is very fair, I think Vanilla Bean is the perfect under eye setting powder highlight brightening shade. And you can kind of see, this is the shade Nude, this is Vanilla Bean. This one is just a little bit lighter. I feel like you can see a little bit more yellow to this eye, which is brightening, but just my personal preference is gonna be here with Vanilla Bean. Next, moving on to these two shades here. So these are light for contouring, but dark for highlighting. They're kind of an in-between. And so my use that comes to mind for these is gonna be for that crease transition area on the eye. So first I didn't show, I just picked up the shade called Raw. And I like to take more of like a medium tan shade that I apply from the crease up to the brow bone to start a little transition into pretty much whatever eye colors I'm going to be using. And this starts to create some depth and, of course, like it's called, the transition into the colors. And so it's subtle, but I do like how that looks. But on the other eye, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the shade Sand, which is a little darker. Let's see how this looks in that crease transition area. Now out of the two, I think I like this one a little bit more for this purpose. It's just showing up with a little bit more of a depth color, like it's creating more shadow and definition to the eye. But wow, these seriously are so blendable. So between the two eyes, kind of hard to tell, but I would use this one probably more often. So far it seems like this side of my face has the colors that I prefer. But what's a little bit difficult for me with this palette is that it does have some extra shades than what I would typically use and reach for. So $60 is so much, and I feel like you get kind of like excess and shades that I feel like no one's gonna actually use every single one of these shades. And I feel like I'm really good at finding uses for every shade in a palette, but I am struggling here, especially because you have so many that are so similar, like 2 yellow tones, 2 light tan tones. Like I really only need one of them, and I really only want to pay for one of them. But gosh, I definitely want to know in the comments down below your favorite uses, how you use this palette, how you contour with it, any tips that you have. Let us all know in the comments down below. So my contouring may not be the most impressive, but I'm really just interested also to see how these formulas are, and so far I'm very impressed. Now let's move on to some contouring. So I'm going to pick up my favorite little angled brush here. I'm going to start with the shade Caramel. There's definitely some kickback with these shades though. And when I contour, I used to go low underneath my cheekbone, but now I pretty much go right on top of it. And yeah, this is very blendable. I'm sticking with the Caramel shade, and I'm actually going to do my entire contouring with the Caramel shade. So I bring my contour along the forehead, and it's a really pretty, it's more of like a warm tone on my face now that I'm seeing it blended out. So it does look like sun-kissed warms up the skin, which I love. But I do feel like I'm missing that cool tone brown in this contour palette, because for me, the cool tone brown is what actually creates that contour, that shadow, and that definition. And then more of these warm tones is what gives that bronzing effect and that sun-kissed glow. So I'm not really actually getting the contour that I was expecting to get from this big contour palette. It's definitely bronzing up the skin and looking really pretty in that way. But where I felt like I had excess shades of like highlight, I'm missing an actual contour shade, at least in my opinion. So I also like to contour under the jawline, and like especially under the jawline, I don't want to really be using a warm tone brown, because this is not where I'm going to be getting like the natural sun. Like on the forehead, contouring with the warm tone brown I think looks really good because it looks like a tan, but I want it to actually be like a shadow shade of brown, like a cool tone brown, when I contour out the jaw, the neck, the chin. So it's a really pretty bronzer. I really like that shade Caramel as a bronzer. And then that just leaves this shade here, which is looking very orange. It's called Suntan. And I'm gonna apply some of this onto the apples of the cheeks to warm up the skin. But yeah, this definitely looks very orange on my face as well. In the swatch, the middle one here, extremely orange. Yeah. When it comes to tans, I try to avoid looking orange, and this one, that's called Suntan, that's too orange. Alright, so my finished look really did not go in the direction I was expecting from a giant contour palette, because basically like I didn't get contour. Actually, one other thing I like to do, I'm going to pick up, I'll go in with the translucent shade. So with a contour shade, you can take like your translucent powder or your highlight powder and cut your contour like that. So then you get that precise chiseled line. Gosh, it's been so long since I've done this technique, but I do love the effect of it. But yeah, anyways, it doesn't really do the same effect with a orange bronzer. But so I like the formulas, but this palette just really didn't do it for me. I'm not happy with the shades that I got in it. So I'm definitely bummed. I feel a little let down, and a little unsure of how I'm gonna get use out of this giant palette, also where I'm going to store this giant palette. But at least now I know I would definitely not recommend spending $60 on this, because I just do not see getting your money's worth from this. But it was still so much fun for me to try out. So thank you so much for watching my video today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so you can see the makeup that I try every day. And I will see you tomorrow in my next video.